So welcome, thank you for coming. Today we're gonna be talking about play. It's our first open community call, or at least in this current format. And the intention behind this call is just to invite people to chat about different subjects that are important to us in traditional Dream Factory. My name is Michal. I'm the catalyst wizard of TDF, and my role is basically to activate the community and create different ways of engaging and make invitations for people to show up. And today I have two play partners. Well, we are all play partners creating this call together. But yeah, I'm joined with two special, let's say, guests, players. One is Sam. Hello, Sam.
Ahoy.
Sam is one of our co-founders, a big player and settler of regenerative playgrounds all around the world, starting with Portugal and TDF. And we have Daisy. Hey, Daisy.
Hello.
Daisy is currently stewarding TDF. And also she's an amazing artist, researching in her art, what is play and is it really the superfood for resilience? So yeah, today it's all about exploring together and putting our playful, funky hat. And this is really an open conversation. So, you know, we will have a little bit of directed questions and, you know, like podcasty style thing, but don't let this stop you from actually participating. This is way more interesting when, you know, we're all playing together. Wow, I like your background, Sam. Sam is already playing around. I'm gonna pin you. What's behind you, Sam? You wanna tell us about the pyramid? I think you're on mute. Can't hear you, Sam.
Sorry, I was looking for my unmute, but no.
Now you're here.
But now I can't see it. Can you see it?
Yeah, we cannot see you, but we can see the solar, a little bit of the solar punk pyramid is chopped in a funky way. And now you're on top of it.
There you go. Here's the play. Yeah, I've just been toying with this little concept of redesigning the Maslow pyramid for TDF. And this is from a little presentation I gave at MetaFest the other day. And as you can see, play is quite high on the pyramid, with at the bottom there being soil health, biodiversity, water retention, and above that, housing, workspaces, and then experiences, education, and then play, of course.
Yay! I love this new version of the Maslow pyramid. And before we get there, let's do a little check-in round. And we have a card wizard here with us, and there's 3 check-in mini games. So maybe Daniel and Sibel, would you like to pick a card? One of the 3?
Oh yeah, I'll pick the green one.
The green one. What collective movement would you like to start?
Oh,
question for anyone. You can choose any collective movement that you wish to begin.
Actually, we are here because we would like to create a community. So we would like to get experience, to talk with people with the same goals, to try to solve some problems. So I think our first step, not first step, but a step that we would like to test here in Portugal is to be here to talk with you guys. So I think it's a good step. I think we can change a lot of knowledge. We are Brazilians living in Portugal, so we don't speak English as a first language, but I think we can communicate as well, right?
Yeah, yes.
Fantastic. It sounds that you are in the perfect place. How about you, Stephanie? What would be the collective movement you would like to start?
I live in the Middle East, and I think I would start a food waste reduction process and like composting to make the desert greener.
Definitely useful. We need that.
We need that
Thank-
here as well. There's too much ending up on landfill. It's very exhausting.
That's very necessary. I've seen this graphic recently on Twitter somewhere about the desert expanding, and it was kind of disturbing. Womp womp womp, as all those graphics tend to be. Freddy, what's your collective movement that we're starting now?
Spontaneously, I can think of a water awareness movement. Sam already mentioned it in the pyramid. I think it's in many projects, it's not really a big topic. But recently I've become a water nerd, and I think the more we care about the water we take in, the better. Spreading lots of knowledge about not drinking chlorinated water, taking care of the pH of our water, and the water awareness movement.
I love that. I can totally imagine some kind of funky meme for water nerds or some kind of t-shirt or
Water
something
nerd,
like this.
yeah.
How about you, Daisy? What's the collective movement we're starting?
Inspired by TDF, I would take away the right to destroy land. We can just like grow and harvest and like give back. Regeneration as a way of relation to land.
Oof, powerful. Yeah,
I
we
learn
need
from the best.
How about you, Sam? What's the movement we're starting? Muty. Yeah, now you're again.
That was a pop-up. Yeah, movement. Yeah, I've also been thinking a lot about water recently and water cycles and about regreening deserts. So I'd like to make a movement to regreen deserts. And actually, the movement is maybe starting in 2025 in Egypt.
Ooh, okay, perfect. That sounds like a little hidden planted seed invitation for all of us water nerds and regenerators. I have one more person in the room that is identified by mysterious combinations of digits, very playful and mysterious appearance. I don't know if you can hear us, and mysterious combinations of numbers, but if you'd like to share about the collective movement, there's also a space for you.
That mysterious number with all the digits might be me. This is Ismail calling in via phone because I just crossed the border to Hungary and my connection here with my phone is not good enough. And I would, after what I've heard, say, let's also start a movement for inner transformation where all of us, gain more knowledge about ourselves, which will eventually lead to the outer transformation that we're seeking as well. Thank you. I hope you guys heard me.
Yay, perfect, loud and clear, fantastic. For me, I'm gonna add a little bit, a little funky twist on the water nerds. So I'd like to start a movement of water shamans that just go everywhere and just bless the water, bless the water, bless the water. That's the mission. Keep blessing all the water everywhere, water temples. I think we had even a plan to start one in TDF at some point. Who knows, maybe they'll exist one day. Maybe you'll all get to even see it. My dears, so playing creativity, it's kind of a massive topic and we can, explore it from many different angles. What I thought to share about is kind of connected to TDF specifically, and it's this really powerful moment that actually got me into TDF in some ways, or this was one of the moments where something like really powerful inside of me happened, and it was one of my first times there on the ground, and it was evening, kind of coldish. There was a fire going on and we were standing around the fire, and Sam was around. And Sam asked the question, do we know what is the official language of the traditional Dream Factory? And then, there was this moment of silence and anticipation, and Sam said laughter. And it generated this like beautiful, warm laughter from everyone, and just such a wholehearted energy that really made me feel like, oh fuck, this is really a great place. I can see that. It kind of made sense after experiencing a few days on the ground, you know, planting trees with a DJ in the background and people transforming, wearing costumes, and just applying the different kinds of principles of play and games and just having a blast towards actually what is very profound purpose. So I would like to start a little bit with exploring that, because in TDF we are playing with this idea of what is our DNA. We found it as a very helpful framework to kind of define, you know, what your community, what your project is all about. What are the kind of key components that create your project? What is the DNA of your project? And one of them for us, one of the 3 or 4 that we defined is playing creativity. So I'm curious, Sam, why did you choose these? Why TDF is designed to have this specific DNA component?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like there's many good reasons for having play. I think one of the big ideas behind TDF is that it kind of frees us from work ultimately. It's this idea of building an economy that we can live in for cheap, right? Like there is some entry capital required to build what we're building, but the idea is that over time our cost of living goes down. So actually we built an economic model that's designed to enable you to have more playtime. And so what does play mean? It's like it's basically the same as work, but doing it because you want to and not because you have to, generally. And so it's how can we optimize for having more space to do the things that we love doing and the things that makes us just thrive. And I think generally like there has been this big ambition, let's say. I mean, even since the days of niche, like we saw that maybe industries would free us from work and so on. And today we have like AI coming out. Sorry if the trains are loud in the background. Today we have AI coming out, and there's this big like worry by a lot of people that we're gonna lose jobs. But do we really care about it? And I think what we really want is like a sense of purpose and a sense of just doing things in life that makes us feel alive. And I think this is where play comes in, because playing is what we do. I mean, kids do it to learn. Kids do it naturally, like it's a default mode of action. And I think we've been like a bit stuck in this paradigm of work being this kind of thing where we enter some kind of box and we are having certain inputs and certain outputs. And I think more and more life is asking from us to play and to leave those boxes behind, because thinking inside the box is just not it's not even productive anymore. I mean, I don't think any of us really enjoy this kind of framing of like let's build some factories that are like where you do the repeated action, all of that. Like we kind of left that idea behind some time ago. But I think looking forward, like there's this opportunity here to actually focus on really liberating the box and transforming what we call work into play. And I think Michal here is also a great inspiration for that. He told me earlier this year that he was quitting work and that he was starting to play full time. And I think we need to have more people that make a commitment to themselves and a commitment to the world. Yeah, and I guess the other aspect of play and why it's so important is simply because we're trying to build a new society at TDF, and when you're committed to building a regenerative village, there is some political agenda behind it. Like you are trying to create something different from the status quo, and something that's very much needed, and something that's more holistic than the current model of like, let's try to do this work thing, let's try to produce goods, let's try to live, and then let's try to do that sustainably by reducing a bit of things, whatever. Now we have to kind of rethink the entire ways that we live. so that it can actually be more in tune with nature and in tune with ourselves. And when we build these systems, well, I mean, if you approach it from the work angle, you're probably gonna burn yourself out. I mean, you're gonna burn yourself out anyway if you're building a village. Just a little warning for those that want to start. But if we can do it in a more playful way, at least maybe you'll want to keep burning yourself until you learn your lessons and you can keep growing up.
Thank you for sharing, Sam. And I love you bringing this perspective from the beginning of the year. I had this crazy insight of, you know, like, fuck, I just don't want to work. It's this, it just doesn't make sense. It's like this cultural thing that I carry from my you know, home country, that you need to work hard to, you know, that's life is about working hard. It's like, I don't want that. That makes no sense. And, you know, then I was inquiring deeper into that, and what came up for me, no, I want to play, but like, what does it actually mean? And what came up for me, that it's actually a very serious transition, and you basically cannot not be in flow state when you're playing. It's just physically not possible. Play is about flow state. So at the end of the day, not only you're having more fun, you're enjoying yourself, but you're also, your like output, whatever value it is that you're creating, is just much better and created through a much more fun process. So it just makes so much more sense for me. And of course, this is just, you know, the kind of framing and the application of that and putting it into practice is another story. But I feel this is a perfect segue to ask a little bit about Daisy's work and connect that. I remember when we met, I think it was in February, we were on this beautiful boat and we just connected around this idea of play. And Daisy just kept dropping these words that just were blowing my mind, like play is superfood for resilience. I was like, wow, yes, it is indeed. Can you tell us a bit more about your, like, how did you came up with that, and what does it actually mean for your art, and how do you apply it towards the regeneration that I know is another passion of yours?
Yeah, thank you. So for me, play, it's essential, right? Play, I think, is a universal language that can connect us to everyone beyond language, beyond culture. There's always a method of playing that takes us out of the seriousness and tight hold of life in order to go a bit into flow. Why I think it's essential for resilience, because with play allows us to remain soft in the places where we need to be soft, right? We're currently faced with so many challenges and change and a huge demand to respond really, really fast to all the changes and all the crises that are happening. But at the same time, the levels are so high that I feel like there's a lot of pressure to not make mistakes. Now, when we play, we create a safe container to first play around with different options without severe consequences, because it's a safer space. And we can also get out of this ordinary to bring some magic, which tends to help the psyche, just to get a bit of less serious. But I think it's, in the terms of resilience, first to remain soft in the right ways, to not harden too much, and then it helps us to adapt. When we play, we can get creative, right? Just by default. And we can have to adapt to every new rule of the game, especially in improv theater, for example. And from there, we just also remain true to life quality, to connection, to ourselves and the world. So, yeah. And in my context, I had a very challenging life when I was growing up. And then with my health, and I knew I had the option to keep existing or to live. I wanted to live and not exist. And play was the loop that allowed that to happen, right? It's about creating, and I think also playing is sometimes like shame, right? You have to be very serious. If you're playing, it means you're not taking seriously. And sorry, like, fuck that. We need to play in order to remain serious, to remain authentic to what's happening inside and in contact with ourselves, and also to connect to the other. Yeah, I'm gonna like also not ramble too much, but that's a bit of what I bring. And yeah, in my art, I try to create spaces that allow play, that encourage different aspects of the storytelling, to see how can play look like in the most hardest situations that we all go through inevitably at a point.
Thank you for sharing, Daisy. And this is like a perfect segue. I even made a card for one thing that you mentioned, and it's this kind of seriousness of play and taking fun seriously. And this is kind of what we also do at TDF. And this is where I would like to kind of weave us all into this conversation and think together about maybe examples or questions that are coming up for us around this idea of the practical application of play in the broader spectrum of the regenerative movement. I mean, Daisy mentioned, like, and Sam as well, like this personal level of play, right? Like, oh, work can just get us burnout and doesn't really serve us, and we can shift towards more playful approach to life. But also on a systemic level, like we see all sorts of challenges that we're facing in pretty much every area of society and ecosystem that we have in this planet. And there's something around this playfulness and the inherent nature of the universe, which is quite fantastically absurd and playful in many ways. And I'm curious, like, how to weave this together practically. Like, how can we stimulate this transition towards playfulness with this purpose on top of the pyramid that Sam was sharing, right? Because we're heading towards this creating movements of water geeks and reforesting and regeneration, not only people but also places. So I'm curious to hear from anyone. Are there some examples or questions or ideas that are coming up? If you would like to share, just unmute yourself.
I think that room of play normally gives you, similar to what Daisy said, gives you a chance to really be creative and think about things in different ways, right? Because normally if you sit down to like, okay, let's brainstorm this, let's see where we come to, right? There is a limitation as to where you can go, because it's all very theoretically, whether you put it on Post-it or on a piece of paper or whatever not. But if you put that experience part to it, I think it's much more exciting to a certain. So that was where the joy comes into it. But it might also open up the mind to think about things in different ways, which you often need, because through socialization we're normally caught up in certain streams of thought that we can challenge, in my opinion, to play.
I wonder if anyone has as an example for that. I'm very curious about like seeing that in practice.
I'm trying to think of a practical one. I mean, but I think it's also a general mode of action at TDF of like co-opting people into playing something to to build something that at the end of the day can also be productive. Like, I mean, I think even when we wrote the book, and I mean, you turned it into a game, right? Like, it became this card game, and then in the end we ended up with a book after like a week, basically, with 20 people. So I think that was a great example of using play to actually catalyze for action.
Yeah, that was really quite magical. I mean, that's essentially kind of what happened, what Sam mentioned, right? Like 30 people in one space for a week, we're playing cards, and then there's a book at the end. That is actually good quality information there. One more example that is coming up, which is like super basic. But when I remember we're driving to nowhere last year with Sam in the car for like this 10 hours all the way through the Spanish desert. And we're talking about this village in a box, right? So like, imagine you just acquired your piece of land and you're shipping your container there, and like you're just literally arriving there and opening the container. What's inside of your container, right? Like the very first day. And one of the kind of key things was the speakers, good quality sound system. And this is just such a basic thing, but it keeps coming up. Like I heard also a similar story from a friend of mine in an island nearby to where I live, that like first thing after he bought his forest is he bought this massive speaker just so he can put the speaker there and entertain himself with cool music while he's doing forest work. And in TDF, it was just kind of essential part of our stewardship. I remember we're just keep deploying the sound system over and over again in different places of the land, and just became very fast at it. And just through playing music, people gather and the mindset changes. Instead of, you know, work mindset, it's, oh no, it's a party, but there's also a shovel in my hand and I'm digging something, or you know, I have to connect something to something, or whatever it is. Any other examples?
Something that has been very helpful for me is playing the game 3 things, especially either when I'm starting a project with other people or when I'm feeling blocked. Basically, I grab the core elements of what's happening and I make a simple game of making a story with those 3 main elements. So for example, I built an art motorcycle recently, and the element was a flying sheep, an automobile, and I think like a challenge and okay, now I forgot, but it was like basically 3 elements, and I had to make a story of what was going to happen. And I made it with a friend so I could get another opinion, and just by extracting elements from reality, putting them on another place that they should not be, and inviting the imagination to roll, it created a certain dynamic that was much better than what I would have done if I had not played that game. But like introducing play in even like brainstorming sessions in ways like that, I think it can change a lot because you also enjoy more the process. So, yeah.
I have an example from a community I once stayed in for 2 or 3 weeks. It's a while back, and in this week we always started our day with a little group game, and that was really uplifting. I think if you really want to incorporate it into your life, I think it's nice to give it a kind of framework. And yeah, I mean, what's better than like starting the day with a game? There was this one amazing game, I cannot think of the name now. It's like Holo or Hobo or Hula. It creates a lot of laughter. I can look it up. Or you guys know this Travel to Jerusalem, or in English I looked it up, it's called Musical Chairs. Maybe, yeah, some nodding, yeah, or a classic hide and seek or something like this in the morning. I think it's really a nice way to get people together. TDF had this thing of the, what was it called, the spiral off,
The joy board? No.
was it the joy board with the spiral where you would put how you are
Yeah.
feeling today? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a kind of a morning ritual, more like a feeling based ritual. I think like a little play based ritual in the morning or in the evening could also be a nice thing to incorporate.
Also, if you see someone being really, really serious, I like to be like, well, we have something here, and they look like this, like, or just be completely like the fool, and you just put a fabric, I don't have one here, and then hide, and then disappear. And that will get everyone out of their like sticky, grumpy mode, and just bring a bit of cuteness that there can be like a hinge to open to a better window. Like play is also like a really good get out of jail card. You just make a cute little trick, and then it goes back to a softness where people can be reachable. Or they get really angry, but it's not so often.
I was go ahead.
So what I find quite interesting, so I visited Sadana Forest at Oroville in February, and they were saying they're doing conscious effort to make games non-competitive, because a lot of the games that we play are very competitive. And since then I've been thinking around that, because I'm talking about play, but play, my father gets so angry when he plays anything and he doesn't get, like, he doesn't win. And it's so exhausting always. So I'm wondering, how do you make up games that are not competitive, or is it more of a mindset instead of like how the play is being done? Because I've been trying to make sense around that, because I think mostly, except for the games where you actually play together against the game, if you know, think of board games, I was really thinking like, okay, how do you make it playful but not competitive? And if you have any ideas around that.
I was just looking up the definition of game, actually. And it says that key components of a game are goals, rules, challenge, and interaction. Games generally involve mental, physical stimulation, and often both. Yeah, and so that brought me to thinking about what is the difference between play and games, and are we always playing games, or can we play without games? And yeah. But I think the thing that's been happening in society a lot is like that we start to use game theory for a lot of things. I mean, and you hear that a lot in the crypto world, for example, because we're essentially designing all of these micro games for how to play things, right? And DAOs, for example, like decentralized autonomous organization, are a form of games. And we actually did like a meta game designed for TDF, like where we kind of try to design what are all the different roles, what are the rules, and what are some of those different parameters that you can play with in order to optimize and incentivize for the right actions. Yeah, I don't know. That's just some random thoughts coming together. Is that?
It's an interesting point around that, because I think maybe games cannot exist without playing the game. Right, else it's just there, but that the concept of play can exist outside of the game, maybe from a wording perspective.
What if play was a state of mind?
Yeah. What if it is already?
Right. Exactly. I think, well, actually, when we were living in Gandum with Freddy, we kind of had like a little mini co-living going on, and we used to play like, but we used to play this thing where, well, I think we were calling it improv wellness or something. It was basically like we had like these circles, and we would kind of improv on I mean, I wouldn't call them games, but like I kind of improvise meditation or improvised whatever, and you don't know what it's going to lead you into, but because you're just making up these rituals as you go, and that becomes a game, but it's a game where you don't know the rules before you start to play it, and where you just put yourself in that state of play, and then you start to come up with rules as you go. I really like improv for that, because it really kind of liberates your mind from the bugs.
I remember this really well, and I'm thinking I had to think right away of one thing that that I'll never forget, is this dessert you created, like a traditional Senegalese tomato dessert. And it wasn't even, for some, it wasn't even clear. It was completely made up. But yeah, like playfulness, you know, people tell you, hey, don't play with your food, you know, that's bad. But I think it's amazing to be playful with food, to be playful with the act of eating. You know, like I'm thinking of this dessert. Like it was just a spontaneous thing. There was tomatoes, there was really good old port wine or brandy, and some sweets, and I don't know, some spices. So we ended up with a beautiful dessert. And that was like an event. And also I'm thinking of fruit ceremonies, or I don't know. I once was like, it's not too far, not too long ago, that I was at a really beautiful celebration of one's birthday in a garden, a huge garden here in Germany, and everybody was kind of contributing something, music, dance, yoga, and I also really felt like contributing. So I thought, okay, what am I good at? What is fun, and where can I play around? And so I said, okay, I'm going to do a shift on the barbecue. And it was super playful and almost like a game for me, being on that barbecue with all these beautiful ingredients and but in that process, just creating new dishes, you know, that looked really beautiful and that people would say, oh, wow, I've never tasted anything like this, or this has never tasted this good or so. So I think playfulness around gourmet stuff, around food can also be something, yeah, it's, came to my mind to share.
I'm curious, like with all these different games and aspects of play, I mean, I'm hearing like one part being more about just putting yourself in the process of play, right? In the state of play, and rather than actually playing a specific game, that doesn't really matter because the game just kind of happens out of playfulness. But then I'm kind of curious, what do you feel is the impact of this? Like, what is the actual shift that happens within the group or within yourself or within the kind of specifically, you know, the land-based community project, like in TDF? Like, what is the real tangible impact of doing that as a practice?
I think in TDF we come closer together, right? We leave the big weight of the big weights and like kind of responsibility and to do and the mass. We leave it on a corner and we become a bit more authentic, right? And we connect from that place of just fun also. Either it's hide and seek, either it's improv or something. Just getting into that giggly, cheeky mode can have, I think, can make such a transcendental change and bring us closer, in making us feel lighter inside. I mean, when we play, we process, we release, you know, we do a lot of all those things in there. And also you get to love the other in a way, like fun way, right? You can bite them, you can poke them, you can like just play pretend. I think it's a whole universe that opens and a whole other highway for connection that is meeting a lot of these very important human needs.
Now you, Bert.
Something that came to my mind is it helps you build skills, and specifically it helps you build leadership. Because, for example, when we were doing these improv wellness games, the kind of the only rule is that, I mean, there was no rule, and whoever was leading in that moment was kind of creating the rules, and so shifting the rules. And so it's like this beautiful dance of like, let's come up with the rules of the game as we go, let's improvise it. And so if you can actually master that, and if you're able to have cohesion as a group through play, it's like you can kind of create some kind of yeah, almost like a hidden cohesion structure, because you keep evolving those play practices, and you actually come up with something that within the group makes sense. Like if I describe to you like, oh, let's play this game where everyone has to meditate, but then you have to, I don't know, like make a funky sound or whatever. Like it just like some of the beauty is kind of just in not knowing what you're stepping into, but just allowing the group dynamic to unfold and kind of inventing the game as you go along.
I'm going to build onto that just to kind of segue, because I think you mentioned one very important part about building the real world skills. And this is something, for example, that we do very much with burns, right? Like part of TDF is we have our own camp. We're going to nowhere every year and do smaller burns as well, and to burn-like events. And at the end of the day, it's basically a survival game. You go to a desert and you play, and part of the play is actually building survival structures, which we are practicing the very real skills that then we are applying to TDF, which is then like a real land-based project that is permanent and it's designed for lasting. This was always my favorite part of going to Burns from TDF, was returning to TDF and realizing, oh wait, that's also a burn, just permanent and regenerative. Stephanie, you're about to share something.
I think it's both. For what comes to mind for me is two things based on what I said when I was thinking about like what Daisy said about building the community. For me, community also always has that element of I, and you're like one person. And for me, being playful, being silly, I find it's so good for my mental health, and it's so relaxing, and it puts you in a really fun state from which a lot of things can flow, which then relates also into the connection. Why I love playing with kids, because it's just, no one's gonna look at you weirdly if you start singing in the train. If you have kids around, if you do alone, some people are a little bit concerned about your health. But then also from another side, basing on what Sam and Michal, what you said, play allows for imperfection. And from imperfection, according to coaching theory, comes massive action normally, right? Same as with hackathons. You just do something in a playful manner, you just give it some time, and suddenly, without a lot of effort, something cool starts existing. And I think that's also one of the really, really powerful elements about you integrating playfulness into TDF and what you're building, because you don't always have to do everything, plan everything in the nitty-gritty details, because then you will never have action. With the agile field. So I like that elementally of mental health, the community that it builds, of connecting, because you're on a very different level and very raw, authentic level. And out of that comes creation of leadership skills, of the infinite game, as you said, and as well the building of quick action, like really getting results quickly.
Yeah, I think for like adding to what you said, it creates a sense of agency, right? And I think agency is really, really important. Yeah, and permission, right? To also define the norms of how the things should be, and when you have a playful attitude, it's agency and rebellion, or pirates.
Like it. True.
And I guess to link to Michal's comments on the burns, I think to me burns are such a powerful culture, because they bring everyone on the same level, everyone as creators as opposed to consumers. And so I think if we can play more games where there's less rules and more opportunity to create, then that's really where we can unleash creativity, and where we can go back to our inner child, basically, and to just being grown-up adults that are actually solving real life solutions, real life problems. And I guess there's something about defining the boundaries of the game, defining the playground. And I guess with TDF, we kind of remove the time boundary of the game. It's an infinite game in that, there's no end to it in time-wise. There's like a certain boundary in terms of geolocation, in terms of the kind of scope and the areas that we play in. So we have like a sandbox, let's say, but it's always open, and it's basically creating this invitation for anyone that wants to create and that has this creator mindset and that wants to spend longer time in the sandbox rather than in the work box. And how can we invite our lives to basically just be in a sandbox? And I think when we go back to thinking about productivity and AI and all of these things that are coming, the number one skill that's going to be required from people to be thriving in this world is going to be to know how to play, because that's gonna be what can expand our creativity, what can enable us to collaborate between other humans, but also with non-humans, with AIs and whatnot. So how can we include more players into the game, have less rules, and just have playgrounds that can feel safe and that can provide us with all the nourishment that we need in order to keep playing?
You guys mentioned the burner culture. I'm thinking of this event in October. Are you guys going from TDF? Flamingalo or Flamingalo?
Yes.
Flamingaloo? Yeah?
Bah.
Bah.
The
The sheep.
Obviously.
Sheep.
The sheep
We don't have
culture.
high fives in the sheep. In the sheepy sheep, we don't have any more high five. We have sheep.
Good.
What's burn culture, guys?
So I have a good deadline to be back in Portugal.
We didn't hear that, Freddie. I think the technology was playing a bit. Decided to play the game of distorting the voice completely. And I think you're frozen now. Now you're back. Would you like to ask again?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Did you guys get the question about the burn near Montemor in October? I think so, huh? Yeah, good. It's good to know. I'm in Germany until middle of October, so I have a good timeline to be back in Portugal.
Are you in Berlin?
And right now, no, I'm with my parents in the West. I will head back to Berlin, I think, on the 31st or 1st. Are you there?
I'll be here until the 31st or 1st.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, that's great to know. I'm quite flexible with my date, so I can try to come a little bit earlier. Are you already there?
Yeah. I'm staying in Moose.
Ah, you're in Moss too. Okay, nice. Not too far from my house. So yeah, let's keep in touch. I can try to come on like the 30th or 29th.
Sounds great.
Nice.
And
Danielle,
as soon as this gets a bit better, I'm with crutches and a fresh knee surgery, but I can walk around and stuff. So should be fine.
Nice progress.
Yay! Until then, my shoulders will be.
I've heard you, Daniel, asking a question in between when the computer was chopping Freddy's voice.
Yeah, I would like to know what's burn culture, because I've never listened to that.
Burner culture.
Burner culture.
Yep.
Okay, burner culture. Okay, I'll make a research.
It's a culture when you keep burning out that you have fun with it. No, it's a culture from Burning Man. It's this big. Have you heard of Burning Man? Yeah. So yeah, burning culture just describes this culture, and basically Burning Man has these 10 principles which you can look up, which a kind of interesting way of creating a playground in a way. Because yeah, Burning Man basically just provides a city map, toilets, and I think that's pretty much it. Then everything else is just co-created by the participants. And so yeah, I mean, included in the burner culture, you have a lot of this kind of co-creation by making your own game kind of thing.
Great, thanks, guy.
So I'm curious, one more question that I would like to bring to the table is, what are the challenges of play? Like what can make it difficult, or what is on the kind of shadow side of it? If anything comes to you, any examples or reflections?
About play, I was thinking about a traditional thing in Brazil that's Altinha. Altinha is like a soccer game, but there is no competition during this game. So the only rule is keep the soccer ball high, you know? So we used to do that on the beach, and it's a kind of meditation. So we just keep doing that for hours, and there is no winner. So sometimes you lost, sometimes you don't play well, sometimes you play well. So it's a kind of meditation for us, and it's a good thing to do with friends, and to do friends as well, because when you are doing that, someone, oh, can I play as well? Yeah, you can come, and doesn't matter if you are a Neymar or if you are just a single player, you can join the guys and do that. So
I guess about the dark side of play, from my experience, like there is like a type of people that likes to think in a very organized way and very structured way. And when you just bring them play, sometimes they can break down and have a mental crisis. And I've definitely seen that happen. And yeah, I mean, my tendency is like, the more real the problem is, and the less serious I take it. And that sometimes can piss people off. And I mean, sometimes it's like a self-defense mechanism that I have as well, right? And sometimes maybe it's not healthy, but yeah, I think for some people that are like very structured or whatever, that are not used to thinking outside the box, like they need this kind of framework for them to be able to operate and to feel safe. And when they don't have that rigid structures, and they don't feel safe. So maybe one of the shadows of play would be unsafety.
I can relate to that. I sometimes have that. It depends on my state of mindset, in the atmosphere that I'm in, the people that I'm around. So if I feel I don't feel safe with a group, then also going into playful activities for me is sometimes scary. Or what if also, I just remembered when you said like unsafe, or like, I joined a friend once to one of these role playing where they like build, okay, we're now in the Middle Ages and we do things, and they have this whole story around because they wanted to experience, and it was in woods. And for me, the whole play was so real. I got like super upset with a lot of things, and I got completely lost in the, like, I only had like this small role on the side, but I got like I was really like, people are dying. So I got emotionally far too upset because I lost myself in the play, not being able to really differentiate it emotionally from reality. So that's what I've also experienced sometimes. And maybe that counts into taking the play too seriously. I don't know.
I think for me, I noticed that at least the times where I play the most is while I'm having surgeries, but I can only feel safe enough to play if I'm sort of if I'm keeping my shit together, right? As soon as I know that I'm being grounded, that I'm sort of keep doing what I need to do, then it's when I feel much safer to play. Because I'm always afraid of getting to the ungrounded side of playing, which is like play as a full-time escape, right? I think that play is a sort of, it balances things out, and it's sometimes even like a really good regenerative nap and a cold shower, you know, like the effect of it. But it's meant to support, not to escape. Yeah. Sorry, and to accept that other people don't want to play. I also think similar to what or there's people that don't feel safe enough to play, right? Because of the structures, because they feel guilty if they play. And sometimes I push them maybe too much to play. So it's also learning how to, like, you know, accept that not everyone will want to play, because it's not like superfood for everyone. And yeah, that's something that I'm particularly trying to learn, when it's the right time to play.
just a random thought that comes to my mind as we say that. Maybe we should have the rules of the game more explicit to make these type of people feel more safe when we have places like TDF where it's kind of all a game, and yeah, maybe that could be an exercise to just give people some rules of the game, and maybe also one of the rules of the game is that we should break the rules of the game. But maybe that could be fun to write.
Or you could also think about, like, if you allow observers, some people are like, okay, they need to get an idea of what's happening and not actively participate until, but then of course the group that is playing also needs to be okay with that, right? From the perspective. And that might, with improv, work quite well because maybe not everyone plays at the same time.
My dears, we're coming to the end of an hour. Thank you so much for this conversation. This feels so enriching, and I love the different sides of plays we explored. I'm gonna put the recording somewhere available and send you a message when it's there, so we can re-watch it and reconnect with those ideas if that feels useful. And one request that I have for you is I'm putting a link in the chat, which is a little feedback for the call. It's the first of hopefully more of these types of calls. It's super quick, 2 questions. If you can give me some feedback on how this experience was for you, that would help me design future calls. And yeah,
One more question.
Go for it. Parting questions.
So far I've only known about the calls because a friend of mine is always like, Stephanie, like, this is another call. If you want to experience a little bit what TDF is about. Is there a newsletter where they get immediately when the next, so I don't have to like depend on my friends to get to know when calls are?
Yes. So the best way is you can go to the website and create an account for you there. And then I'll send you an email. And then, yeah, I think you'll be automatically maybe subscribed to the newsletter, or there should be a sign-up box.
We are also on Twitter, Instagram, and different social medias. And we're actually having another call tomorrow. We're having a token party, right? That maybe some can speak a bit more, but we're going to have a really cool Zoom call where we're going to learn about all this like wallet things, and we can help TDF on a call up for a grant that we're having that can help TDF a lot for the Gitcoin.
What time is it at Portugal time? What time?
I'm not sure which call this actually is. Is this a Web3 wallet one, or?
Yeah.
It's 6 p.m. now
It's 6 p.m.
No.
in Portugal. Yeah, in Lisbon.
Tomorrow.
No, but that's
okay.
the current time. Yeah.
Yeah, the current. Yeah. I'm free.
Sorry, not sure.
I'm not sure, but I will let you know, Stephanie. I will ask.
I will send you the website. If it's a website or an Instagram, I'll download Instagram.
Yeah, website or Instagram, we're having our wallet party, and it's super cool because we got into this grant that basically if you donate, they match the donating, and it's really cool because it's an like wallet thingy that I'm getting used to, blockchain power.
You already get excited talking about it, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, thanks to TDF, I'm not afraid of the blockchain anymore. I understood what blockchain is.
Talking about games and blockchain, if you want to earn yourself a TDF token, which is a perpetual access right for 1 night per year, we just launched a meme contest today. So maybe you have some funky ideas from this call today, maybe describing something around play. You can make a meme for it and then tag us on Twitter, and then you can get a chance to earn yourself a TDF token.
Yeah,
Forever.
another game. My dears, I wish you a fantastic day. Have a beautiful day. Play a lot and have a lot of fun. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.